They say laughter is the best medicine, but throughout history it's also been a powerful weapon. Think about the court jesters. Covered in motley jingling bells, they looked ridiculous. But beneath the absurd costumes and silly antics hid something more, a sharp wit, a keen eye for hypocrisy. These jesters, they were the original roasters. They could get away with saying things no one else could. Kings and queens surrounded by yes-men needed someone to puncture their egos. Enter the jester with a well-placed barb, a witty observation. Laughter echoed through the halls, a release of tension. Jesters used humor to expose the flaws and foibles of the powerful. They were cultural commentators, cloaked in the guise of fools. Fast forward a few centuries and the jester's stage has transformed. Gone are the royal courts and velvet curtains. In their place, the smoky back rooms of vaudeville theatres, the birth of stand-up comedy. Here, in these dimly lit, raucous spaces, a new breed of comedian emerged. They weren't beholden to kings or queens. Their loyalty lay with the audience, their weapon of choice, the microphone. These early stand-ups, they were masters of observation. They found humour in the everyday, the struggles of the working class, the absurdities of modern life. They poked fun at relationships, at societal expectations, at the human condition itself. Their jokes resonated with audiences. Why? Because they were relatable. They spoke to the shared experiences of everyday people. Vaudeville may be long gone, but its legacy lives on. The 20th century dawned, and with it, a new era for comedy. The silver screen flickered to life, and suddenly comedians weren't just voices in a smoky room. They were larger-than-life figures. Icons projected onto screens across the globe. Charlie Chaplin, with his cane and his moustache, brought laughter to a world ravaged by war. Buster Keaton, the great stone face, used physical comedy to comment on the absurdity of modern life. These weren't just funny men, they were artists. They used the medium of film to create timeless characters, to tell stories that transcended language and culture. Their humor was universal, speaking to the human experience in ways that words alone never could. Remember those court jesters? They weren't just there to lighten the mood, they were like walking, talking reflections of society. Their humor, often biting and satirical, held up a mirror to the world around them. They exposed the hypocrisy, the ridiculousness, and sometimes the downright absurdity of the social norms of their time. Who else could get away with mocking the king's new clothes? Or poking fun at the ridiculous rituals of the court? The jester, with their bells and baubles, became a symbol of truth-telling through humor. They reminded everyone, even the most powerful, that they weren't above a good ribbing. And in doing so, they subtly shaped how people perceived those in power. Jesters also reflected the everyday lives of the common folk. Their jokes often centered around marriage, family, and the struggles of daily life. Laughter, my friend, is a powerful force. It's not just about amusement, it's about disruption. When we laugh, our defenses come down, our minds open up, and in that moment of vulnerability, a well-placed joke can plant the seed of an idea that challenges the status quo, an idea that can spark change. Comedians throughout history have been masters of this subversive art. They use humor to chip away at societal norms, to question the accepted, to challenge the unquestioned. Think about Lenny Bruce, with his fearless social commentary. He used profanity and taboo subjects to expose the hypocrisy of his time, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. Or George Carlin, the countercultural hero who dissected language and social conventions with surgical precision. These comedians weren't afraid to make people uncomfortable. They understood that real change often comes from challenging the comfortable, from pushing people outside their comfort zones. And it's not just about the big names. You see, a good joke can sneak up on you. It can disarm you with laughter one minute and then, bam, it hits you with a profound truth the next. It's this ability to bypass our intellectual defenses that makes humor such a powerful tool for shaping perspectives. Think about Richard Pryor. He talked about race and racism in a way that was raw, honest, and undeniably funny. He didn't shy away from the pain, but he also found the humor in it. And in doing so, he made white audiences confront the realities of racism in a way that they never had before. Or Ellen DeGeneres, who used her platform to come out as gay on national television, changing the conversation around LGBTQ plus rights forever. These comedians weren't just telling jokes, they were telling stories, stories that challenged preconceived notions, that broke down stereotypes, that fostered empathy and understanding. Comedians. They're the court jesters of our time, except their stage, it's not some king's banquet hall. It's our TVs, our phones, our earbuds. They've traded motley for microphones, lutes for late-night shows. But their role, it hasn't really changed. They're still the ones speaking truth to power, poking fun at the powerful. Think about it. Who else can get away with calling out a politician's hypocrisy? Who else can make us laugh at the absurdity of it all? A good comedian. That's who. They take the stage, armed with nothing but a microphone and a sharp wit, and suddenly the emperor has no clothes. Politicians, they thrive on seriousness. But comedians, they're allergic to that stuff. They see through the spin, the carefully crafted image. Now, some folks, they'll tell you comedians shouldn't get political, that they should just stick to making people laugh. But here's the thing. Politics, it's inherently funny. I mean, think about it. The power struggles, the backroom deals, the endless parade of talking heads. It's a circus, and every circus needs a clown. And these comedic clowns, they're not just here to entertain, they're here to inform, to educate, to make us think about the world around us in new and different ways. They can take a complex issue like healthcare or climate change and distill it down to its essence and make it relatable. Take Jon Stewart, for example. He used his platform on The Daily Show to skewer politicians from both sides of the aisle. Satire, it's a powerful weapon, sharper than any sword, more piercing than any arrow, and comedians, they're masters of it. They know how to use humor to expose the absurdity of the world around us, to shine a light on injustice, to make us uncomfortable. Because sometimes uncomfortable is exactly what we need to be. We need to be shaken out of our complacency. We need to be forced to confront the things we'd rather ignore. Think about Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator. He mocked Hitler, not with guns and bombs, but with laughter. He held up a mirror to the dictator's megalomania, his cruelty and his utter ridiculousness. They say laughter is the best medicine, and sometimes it's the best disinfectant too. It can cleanse the air, clear away the cobwebs, and make us see things with fresh eyes. That's the power comedians have. They can take a serious issue, something that makes us uncomfortable, and find the humor in it. Not to make light of it, but to shed light on it. Think about Dick Gregory. He was a comedian, yes, but he was also a civil rights activist. He used his humor to expose the absurdity of racism, to challenge segregation, to fight for equality. He stood on stages in front of audiences, both black and white, and he made them laugh. And in that laughter, he planted seeds of understanding, of empathy, of change. Or Lily Tomlin, with her iconic characters like Ernestine, the telephone operator, and Edith Ann, the precocious 5.5-year-old. She used humor to challenge gender roles, to critique corporate greed, to champion the underdog. She made us laugh, yes, but she also made us think about the world around us in new and different ways. Section 2, Beyond the Punchline, tackling taboo topics and sparking dialogue, sensitive subjects, taboo topics. But comedians, they break the rules. They shine a light in dark corners, mental health, for example. Maria Bamford and Daniel Kitson talk about anxiety and depression. They break down barriers. Russell Brand and John Mulaney challenge addiction. Comedians find light in darkness. They help us heal and connect. Section 3, the ripple effect, from awareness to action through laughter. A laugh, it's a powerful thing. It can break down barriers, build bridges. When comedians raise awareness, it creates a ripple effect. Think about Red Nose Day. Comedians like Lenny Henry and Rowan Atkinson shine a light on serious issues, making a real difference in children's lives. They put pressure on world leaders to take action, inspiring others to take action, to make a difference. Laughter can be a force for good in the world. Chaplin's tramp, a universal symbol of humanity, Charlie Chaplin, the name conjures up images instantly. The bowler hat, the cane, that little moustache. He was more than just a comedian, he was a silent film icon, a master of physical comedy. But more than that, he was a voice for the voiceless. Section 2, the cutting edge of Carlin language as a weapon and a mirror. George Carlin. Now, there was a man who knew the power of words. He wielded them like weapons, dissecting language, exposing hypocrisy, and making us question everything we thought we knew about the world. He was a master of observation, a social commentator, and a fearless critic of the status quo. Carlin's comedy wasn't always comfortable. In fact, he seemed to revel in making people squirm. His infamous 7 dirty words routine challenged censorship laws and sparked a national debate about free speech. But Carlin wasn't just trying to be shocking. He was using language to expose the absurdity of social norms, the hypocrisy of those in power, the ways in which we deceive ourselves and each other. He talked about everything from religion and politics to consumerism and the environment, always with a sharp wit and a keen eye for hypocrisy. Carlin's humor was like a punch to the gut, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. He made us laugh, yes, but he also made us think. He challenged us to question our assumptions, to look beyond the surface, to see the world with fresh eyes, and that's the mark of a true comedic genius. Section 3, Pryor's Revolution, Race, Laughter, and the Uncomfortable Truth. Richard Pryor, a force of nature. Raw, honest, fearless, he took to the stage with a vulnerability and an intensity that was both captivating and unsettling. Pryor didn't shy away from the tough topics. In fact, he embraced them. Race, poverty, addiction, sex, nothing was off limits. He talked about his own experiences growing up black in America with a searing honesty that had never been seen before on a national stage. He used humor to expose the pain, the anger, the absurdity of racism. He made white audiences uncomfortable, yes, but he also made them listen. Pryor's comedy was revolutionary. He broke down barriers, challenged taboos, and paved the way for generations of comedians to come. He proved that humor could be a powerful tool for social change, for sparking dialogue, for forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world around us. He wasn't just telling jokes, he was telling his truth. And in doing so, he changed the face of comedy forever. Section 1. The enduring legacy, laughter's echo through time. From the shadows of kings to the glow of our smartphone screens, the comedian has been a constant presence. They're the ones who hold up the mirror to society, warts and all. They force us to confront our biases, our hypocrisies, the things we'd rather ignore. They do it all with a joke, a smirk, a well-placed pratfall. We've seen how Chaplin's silent films spoke volumes about the human condition. Heard Carlin's razor-sharp wit cut through the noise of our modern world. Felt the raw honesty of Pryor's comedy shake us to our core. These weren't just funny people. They were truth-tellers, provocateurs, and yes, revolutionaries. Their impact echoes through generations. Each time a late-night host lands a zinger on a corrupt politician, it's a win for the court jester's spirit. Every time a stand-up comedian makes us question a societal norm, it's a testament to the power of observation, of finding the funny in the mundane and the profound in the everyday. The world needs laughter. It's a release valve, a pressure cooker letting off steam, but more than that, it's a unifier. In those moments of shared amusement, we connect with the strangers around us. We recognize something of ourselves in their guffaws and snorts. Section 2, the comedian's calling more than just jokes. To be a comedian is to be a keen observer of human nature. It's about finding the humor in our flaws, the absurdity in our routines. It's about pointing out the elephant in the room, even if it means using a whoopee cushion to get its attention. But it's also about more than just getting laughs. The best comedians, they make us think. They challenge our perceptions, push us out of our comfort zones. They remind us that it's okay to laugh at the things that scare us, that make us uncomfortable. In fact, it's often necessary. The comedian's job is never done. As long as there's hypocrisy in the world, there will be jokes about it. As long as there's injustice, there will be those brave enough to point it out, to make us laugh at it, to inspire us to change it. So the next time you find yourself doubled over in laughter, take a moment to appreciate the person who made it happen. They're not just telling jokes, they're carrying on a tradition as old as time itself. A tradition of speaking truth to power, of finding humor in the darkness, and of reminding us that even in a world that often feels like it's falling apart, there's still a reason to laugh.